Welcome to Beyond the Frame Initiative. We are three diverse women working to elevate wellness for all of us through exploring facts over feelings in parenting, politics, and everything in between.
So, welcome to Beyond the Frame Initiative. I am Julie here with my co-host.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Robin.
So, ladies, what's got you up and what's got you down? Rachel?
Yeah, I'm up. I'm up with the what happened on Tuesday in the elections recently. I'm very excited, feeling a glimmer of hope, feeling energized, feeling heard, feeling good. Yay to California, Virginia, New Jersey, Detroit, New York City. Whoop whoop. Yes, so that's got me up. I'm feeling pretty good about that. What's got me down? Just the long road. I think the long road, you know, I mean, in the immediate, like selfishly, what's got me down is that I'm supposed to be flying out for my birthday soon and we are having a shutdown. So that's got me a bit down and concerned. Will I be able to get on a flight? Because I don't get to celebrate myself that often. And I was really excited about it. So it makes me like very salty. So that's what's got me down. I just want shit to work, guys. I want it to work.
Yeah.
It's not working. It's not been working for a while. It's fucking broken. And so that's where I'm at. What about you, Robin?
What's got me up? Obviously, the results on Tuesday are a seesaw, right? Because it's like I'm happy that people
Yes.
turned up and turned out. Apparently, and like I want to say I don't want to get it wrong, but somewhere in the South, I'm gonna say somewhere in the South, people lined up to vote on Tuesday, and someone had to say, "I'm sorry, we're not having votes on the 4th, and you can't vote for other states." And I don't know what the confusion was, but a lot of people were upset because the polls were closed, and it's
Yes.
like, sweetheart,
I
not your
had no
turn
idea.
yet. I want to say it was
Yes.
Mississippi, but I'm not 100%
Kentucky,
sure.
I believe.
Was it
Kentucky,
Kentucky?
I
Oh
think.
yeah, that sounds right. Kentucky. I just don't come at us. Okay. I'm not 100%
We're
sure,
not perfect.
but
We are not perfect. We make mistakes.
it's crazy, and I don't know that their motivation was that they were energized, or if they were upset because they didn't want it to happen. I'm not sure, but I think the biggest thing is like I just don't want people to forget. Never forget
Mhm.
this feeling. Never forget what you're seeing on TV, what you're seeing in your communities. We can never go back to like not talking about voting, not talking about civics, and you don't have to wait for a
Right.
school to introduce it. Adults need the class, uh kids need the class, like people need to know what's going on. And I'm so happy that like people weren't just turning out for the big stuff. They were coming, like
Yeah.
school boards and everything, like people are paying attention and getting dialed in, and that's what we need. Like that's what we need the most of all. And so I just, I don't want things to continue to be terrible, but I want people to remember that like after, like when COVID was in the thick of it and people were so upset and emotional. And we just never thought people would go back and be like, you know what? Let's give this guy a second chance. Maybe he'll get it right this time. Like you just think that people will never forget that feeling. And apparently that's not true. And just like with anything, people are so fueled by hate and fear. It
Mhm.
drives them so much harder than people being motivated by joy. And so I just hope that people will remember and keep that energy going forward, because we have an uphill battle. Um
Yes.
so it's like a little bit of it's got me up and it's got me down. But outside of politics, I have been lightly potty training one of my daughters, and the light bulb went off like 2 days ago, and she's
Yes.
doing the thing, and I'm just so excited because anybody who's potty trained a child knows the journey. I mean, we're still in the journey, but it is not an easy road. So
Yeah.
Mm.
that's a small thing that's got me
It's
way
great.
up. So
Yay.
yeah, what about
Yes.
you, Julie?
I'm happy for you, Robin. Potty training was one of the most stressful things because everybody's got an opinion, right? Everybody. And anyway, I'm happy for you. Those wins are
Same.
so
Thank you.
important.
Same.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think the same thing that's got me down, it's the same thing. It's kind of like everything, all the hate and fear that's
Mhm.
spewed out there in our culture. But I guess from a personal level, I think what's got me down, but not real down, is I overcommit myself too much. And I just stepped off of a committee, a committee that we run. I just told them I'm not coming back. You're going to have a new lead. And it felt so good. And Jasmine was saying to me the other day, she's like, Mom, could you get sick next week so we could just do nothing for a week? And I started laughing. I was like, why do I have to get sick? Yeah,
Sweet,
it made me
though.
realize, like, that's the truth, though, right? Like, we wait
Yeah.
until we're sick to take a break. And I think that's so common in our culture, and that needs to change. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that.
Yeah.
We
I
have
agree.
so much technology out there. It's supposed to be making our lives easier. But as someone who
Oh.
worked in the workforce before
Mhm.
technology, it doesn't. It just puts more demands on our time. So I'm a little down about, like, okay, I need to change that. Just the fortune that I have that I happen to live in a place where I can choose to make some of those changes. So I need to be grateful for that.
Yeah.
So we are here today. We're going to talk about weaponizing Christianity. The three of us are all of various faiths or beliefs. And I just want to acknowledge to those out there listening to this before I get into this, I am of the Christian faith and I love Jesus. Okay. But there is corruption that has happened in the Christian churches throughout time. This is nothing new. There's been corruption tied to all religions throughout time, right? It doesn't matter which one. When it's human run, there's going to be opportunities for power grabs or just flawed thinking in general. Because, like we were talking about, humans are fear-based and flesh-based. Things they don't understand scare them. And those who are looking to use religion as a rallying cry to position themselves in power know this and exploit it. So let's just do a small amount of time traveling. Think of St. Francis of Assisi. For those of you who are familiar with that, he felt led to rebuild the church due to the corruption and greed of powerful people. Or look at the Reformation that came about because of greed and power, such as preventing Bibles to be written in a common language so that its message could be controlled by those in power. And of course, think of the corruption, the abuse of power that came from many Christian churches to steal land, keep people as slaves, and keep women in an oppressed state. None of this fits with the actual teachings of Jesus Christ. This is weaponizing Christianity. This is not isolated to the Christian faith. Many people in power have used various faiths as weapons. However, today, in the United States, we are seeing a strong movement from corrupt people to use the name of Christianity as a weapon against those who do not fit their agenda. And this is serious. So I'm going to start by throwing out this question. What do you see today that is weaponizing Christianity? And what do you think their agenda is? Robin, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely shows up in society. It's taken a strong hold on people. And I feel like there's a lot of confusion for me as far as my faith base. I kind of grew up exposed to a little bit of everything. I didn't go to church every Sunday, but I did go to a Catholic school from kindergarten through 12th grade. I had a grandparent who was Muslim. I had family members who were Jehovah's Witness. I had another grandparent who was Catholic. And so it gave me a glimpse of a little bit of everything. And I would consider myself more spiritual than anything, but I do believe in Christianity. But I was also one of those kids that was like, this doesn't make sense. Why are the women being oppressed? I don't like it. So to see it coming up it hand in hand with government is very troubling because, the strong basis of what America stands on is the separation of church and state. And now it's being weaponized to kind of basically say you're not really American if you're not a staunch Christian. And we all have seen that Christian is used to control people. Christianity has been used, not just Christianity, religion has been
Yeah.
used to control people and to move the needle and to allow people to hide behind that and use it to terrorize others. And I know people don't want to hear it that way, but that is literally what's happening, because if you can be a person who we were talking about it earlier, the LGBTQ community. If you're a person who believes in Christ-like ways, he was like, I hang out with what y'all consider the worst of. I hang out with everybody. I don't discriminate anyone. So when I hear people say that or being willing to like turn their back on their families or whatever, and people wanted to associate that with being an American, it's a very dangerous road that we're on. And I think the people who are more evolved and see it for what it is, we need to be more vocal in talking about and helping people to understand you can love God, you can believe in Jesus, hatred has no place in that conversation. So, yeah, right now, today.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Rachel?
So I did not grow up in any church at all. My mom grew up in the Catholic Church and has some had some difficulties. So she was very much not taking me to church and stuff like this when I was younger. So I didn't grow up with any faith, but she was very spiritual. I believe you can be faithful. You can have faith without religion, and she definitely has that. For me, my framework with Christianity has always been negative. It's always been weaponized. I've actually very rarely have seen, with the exception of Julie being like probably the first person that I've ever met that is that identifies as Christian and is the opposite of what I've seen play out. Right. Most of the times what I see is it being weaponized, right? With like, this idea, what is that in order now to be like with American nationalism, what the white nationalist movement, right? Like you have to be Christian and white and the oppression of the LGBTQIA plus community, praying the gay out, the all of these negative portrayals of what Christian behavior is that I see has been like a direct turnoff to me and that's all organized religions. They all have this. But in my experience, just as an American, it's the one that's weaponized the most. It's the one that's shoved down your quote unquote shoved down your throat the most, right? Like if I don't believe in, it's hard to have a conversation with somebody. Like if you take women's bodily autonomy, right, and you really start digging down on, abortion rights, you see that the fundamental basis of this argument is going to be rooted in Christianity and what people's perception of Christianity is. And then now we're going to use that as a tool to say, we are not going to allow women to do this because it's against their God, right? Even if you don't follow that religion, right? The Christian rules are not for me because I am not a Christian. So why are they being imposed on me? This is something that I really struggle with. I have very rarely seen the opposite, seeing Christianity used for betterment, right? Using it as a tool to actually help people thrive and live by principles that are inclusive. And I hear these, like I didn't study any scripture, so I'm not familiar with any of the scriptures, but from what I hear from people that are that are trying to follow Christianity in better ways, that there is this idea of like being inclusive and being kind to your neighbors and not being judgmental and helping those in need. And because of the few folks that are really trying to follow these principles, it gives me pause to be fully turned off, right? But I don't like this idea of imposing rules on or an idea on others when those rules are not for you. Right? I think Christians should have their rules, they should have their faith. If you don't want to get an abortion because you are Christian, don't do that, right? Then don't get it done, right? If you feel like you don't want to be in certain circles and groups because those people make you feel uncomfortable, then don't. But to go a step further and to shame and to ostracize people that are different from you based on your religion is a real big flag for me. And yes, yeah.
Yeah, we won't go into a bunch of scripture in this, but for those who don't know about the woman at the well, I thought of that when you were talking about that, Robin. That that is like the epitome of what Jesus teaches, is that you just love everyone, you don't judge people. He said that specifically to the Pharisees, who are like, for those that don't know, like religious leaders. It's not for you to judge, right? You're supposed to love, just love. Look at the sin that you have for yourself. Work on yourself. But that's not what we see a lot of the time when it comes to the louder voices. I think there are a lot of Christians out there who don't even speak up and say they're Christian because they don't want people to think that they are with that side of the agenda that quotes other parts of the Bible, or this guy named St. Paul who never even knew Jesus that says things like women need to wear something on their head or God can't hear them. And, I'm not a St. Paulian, I'm a Christian, but there's a lot of people out there who don't even know what it is they believe. And so this is how they go about securing power, right? This is how they go about securing power. And specifically right now for the wealthiest white men, they start by making the wider group of people feel as though they're in the club, right? And then little by little they squeeze them out, so some more overtly than others, because you still need to have your soldiers feeling like they have something to lose, right? So they need a symbol. They need hate has a symbol, right? So the symbols right now, the key symbols, are immigrants and transgender people. They're the most vulnerable because they represent the smaller groups. You can't go right after all women up front to make up half the population, right? Or right after poor white males up front. They will never go after them overtly. They need them to be their soldiers, even though they will remain poor. They are not actually part of the club, right? But they try to go after smaller groups, and then they widen that base, right? But we're already seeing the signs of them. They're already going after civil rights, right? And we know they're going to go after women's rights and disability rights. We already see this stuff happening. So why is it's so easy if people are scared of something? Like, I've heard people actually say that. They said to me, I'm scared of transgender. Doesn't that scare you? And I actually asked them why. Why does it scare you? Because you have to drill down into, like, where is this fear base? What do you think? What's the worst possible thing you think is going to happen? And if you're a Christian and you're out there calling people degenerates and banning them from military service because you disagree with them, that is not Christianity. That is anti-Christianity, right? You got to get back to the roots. Love is what attracts people. As Christians, we believe we love God because he loved us first. We love Jesus because he loved us first. So what they're doing, this is weaponizing Christianity. So they disagree, right? Like you were saying, Rachel, like they say they disagree with someone fundamentally on God. And so they're going to force people to do what they say. So I want to ask you guys to answer, when was there a time you disagreed with someone, and looking back on it, you're embarrassed by either your behavior and how you presented that disagreement, or a time when someone disagreed with you and you felt their approach actually made you feel more open to the discussion? And I just want to talk about this because I want to show how clearly this isn't actually about trying to bring people in, but rather to oppress people.
Rachel,
you want to go first?
Time where I disagreed with someone. Let me think for a second.
while you're thinking, I was going to say, I
Let me think.
honestly can't pinpoint a time when I've
Try to pinpoint.
kind of acted out of character, because I just don't like that kind of energy. So I try to stray away from doing that. I mean, I'm sure me and my husband have had some spirited discussion about something, not like a marital thing, just something pop culture or something that happened. I don't know. I think it's hard because I feel like we try to be we're like-minded people. So I really can't pinpoint a time when I feel like either I've been out of character or I've been with someone and they made me feel like, oh, okay, I see it. I'm trying to see it your way, because I feel like I like going into debates. I think you get something out of that. And I think when people are passionate, the only time that I felt like any type of anxiousness about it is when you are a Black woman and you have passion. People see it as anger. But I don't move like that. Like I just have to be me, and I want to be around people who can be mature. So I feel like I can't contribute because I don't know.
Leave that, because you are so grounded. And I feel like there were times when Rachel and I would be getting like fired up about something, and then Robin would come in and she just calm and it's so like it's so nice. It's really nice.
I mean, I've been called out for I've been called out for using an expression that I didn't realize that I was using it incorrectly, right? Like for like when I think I've mentioned to you two before, when I was with my friend in Barcelona, she's Native American, and I was talking about my spirit animal and like the totem pole. I was like, oh, my spirit animal is, and I was like really feeling my spirit animal, and like this kind of thing. And she was telling me how that like a little bit later in our conversation, after I had my whole entire spiel about like how cats are my spirit animal and like I feel so akin to them, and like I was like really feeling it. And she told me during that time, a little bit later, that how that's that's offensive, right? That's offensive in the Native American culture. And I think that was actually a fundamental point for me to then start to realize, watching how I speak about things, especially about like using cultural references. And I was very American and like just using references and just like throwing shit out there, right? Without really having a thought about it, because no one ever called me out about it. And I had a moment where I could be defensive and defend it and like double down and be like, well, I'm just kidding. It's just whatever. It's like, this is what we say. Cause I mean, people have say that. They say like, no, let's have a powwow. People do that. I could have done that, but it was a teachable moment for me. And I remember not doing that and thinking, okay, this is uncomfortable and embarrassing, but I didn't know. So this is a time to learn. And so I was open-minded, and she told me why this is. And then she went on to tell me all kinds of different like Native American expressions that we use in our everyday language that is offensive, and the reasons why. And it made a difference. So that's the time that I can think of right now. Like when I think I didn't double down and I wasn't trying to dig in deeper, but I did have that feeling. I had that feeling that like to be defensive and to defend what I was doing, because nobody wants to be called out, right? Nobody wants that. And I also feel like sometimes when I do talk about like politics, there's certain people that I talk about politics to that we might not be on the same page. I don't really do that much anymore. But when I did, I remember trying to be very deactive in the language that I used, but still conveying my point. So I'm not sure if that helps your
No, I think that's great.
question, but like, yeah.
Yeah, because if you had gotten really defensive, she wouldn't have shared as much with you either, right?
And we
Like she
probably
wouldn't have
wouldn't be
gone
like
on.
agreeing. Yeah, she wouldn't be like this. She sucks. I'm like, but she's actually a really, really good friend of mine to this day. And um, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell on myself because it took me a while to calm down. Like when I was younger, I'd get very fiery with people. And then it wasn't until as I got older and grew up, got more mature, I was realizing that's the wrong approach. Because if you get, aggressive, like, I mean, I was not physically aggressive, but like if you're calling out the person, like you're making them feel like they're just a bad person, they're gonna shut down, because we all have that defensiveness. We all get that. Like, when I'm wrong, especially when I'm talking to my parents, if they're arguing with me and I don't know that I have actually the information that I would like to have, that teenager in me comes back out like, no, I know things. We all have that. So if you come at people with grace and talking to them and trying to see their point of view and communicate, which we don't have in this country right now. It's very hard. That's probably a big part of why people don't talk about things, because it can get heated really fast.
It's really hard though.
Yeah.
It is really
I think
hard.
the defensiveness is really the hugest hurdle, because I mean, you could just kind of see in COVID when people were told you need to wear a mask, not just for you, but for other people. And so many people, I'm not going to wear a mask. I don't need to wear a mask. The next thing you know, we see them on their deathbed or their grandparent on their deathbed. And it's like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but it's like, you don't want anybody to tell you what to do. And that's the thing I don't understand about America. Americans don't want to be told. I mean, people in general, but Americans especially want to be free, but they only want free under a certain amount of constraints. And when someone uses, I'm gonna try to bring it back around, when someone uses something as the Bible to control people, it doesn't even make sense, because when I tell you, when I was a kid, I don't know if it was an ancestral thing. I don't know why, but stuff just didn't make sense. I'm like, didn't people write this? Like, nobody thought that, like, people, like people throw their little razzmatazz in there and their little razzle dazzle in there. You know what I mean? Like, when I think about being connected to God or a higher power, or the universe, or whatever people use to make them feel comfort, one, it's in you, right? If you're a reflection, it's inside of you. You got to start there. So if it's dirty up in here, if your heart doesn't feel like, doesn't feel something when you see certain images or you hear certain things, you got to check in with yourself. And a lot of times people project that out, and it's all about what everybody else does. It's all about like this, and this, instead of, I mean, I don't want to be cheesy, but Michael Jackson said it best. I'm talking to the man in here. I mean, like, literally, it has to start there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really, really does. And I think also, I've seen a lot online, maybe in my algorithm specifically, a lot of people trying to deconstruct from religion. I know
Mhm.
especially the Black community, religion got a strong hold on our community. And I think like one, you can find a way to like love both. You know what I'm saying? You can love God, but still want to be in touch and want to
Right.
know, reach back and know about. We will
Mhm.
forever have this mysterious cloud around us because it was cut off from our identity intentionally,
Mhm.
right? And so I just say all that to say those are still points where people use religion to control. They use religion to shame. They use religion to create distrust even. And church, especially never, I just couldn't understand, you know, people will be down to their last and give tithes because they're being told, well, God will bless you in the end. And your pastor or your church leader is out here with an expensive car or jet
Right.
or mansion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't, sometimes I don't understand
Yeah.
that in the
Yeah.
basic things, using it to control people and tell them what they should and should not be doing or how they should live, unless it's like the basic human rights of having respect for each other. I just don't get it. Like when it comes to,
Yes.
you know, a non-traditional relationship, I don't care. If it makes you happy, baby, I'm happy for you. That's how I've always been. Like
Mhm.
it's not gonna change as long as you're not harming anybody, it's not gonna change my life. And I wonder why people get such a high, because people really get a high off of using things to control other people and to harm other people. I mean, we see it literally in our country. When you think about
Yeah.
ICE, is that it's some
Mhm.
people get a high off of that. Like they are energized off of seeing people be terrorized. And
But you
That's
it
awful.
No, it's not good.
it's
You know what I've
awful.
also noticed? I've had conversations with some folks that they believe so much what is like taking the Bible literally, right? Not metaphorically, taking it literally. And I've had a conversation with someone and I truly believe she thinks she was trying to save me. Like if I don't believe this thing, then I'm going to hell. And I'm trying to explain to her that I'm not going to I don't believe in that. So it doesn't how is that going to affect me?
Mhm.
But her conviction was so strong that it was like I'd rather shove this down your throat and jam it down your throat and do it to a point where it's aggressive and a turnoff and I was like, okay, we gotta stop. Like, no one's
Yeah.
gonna. I was telling her, I'm like, no one's gonna listen to you like this. Like, no one's gonna listen to your
Yeah.
fanaticism. It's just not gonna happen, right? You're going off the rails here. And
Yeah.
those things are for you. Like I think I was talking to my partner and he was saying that part of the I think is it the Bible that tells you to go evangelize and like go and like you have, does it say that
Well,
or no?
Uh,
there's
Because
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that's
No,
an
go
issue
ahead.
too. Like I think there's or if there's an interpretation or if there's something
There's
that's
an
saying there's something
interpretation.
going on.
Different churches feel differently about that. Like, for instance, you will have like the Catholic Church does not believe you have to believe in Jesus Christ to go to heaven. But a lot of other churches do believe you have to believe in Jesus Christ to go to heaven. In fact, believe if you believe in Jesus Christ, you're saved, period. Right? Like, so there's a lot of
Right.
different viewpoints
Right.
on this stuff.
But,
For
right.
me, I was very turned off by church because there's a lot of hypocrisy, right? Like
Oh my
I
gosh. All
Yeah, but
over. Right.
what happens if you're Buddhist? What happens if you're Buddhist or if you're
oh, there's
Hindu?
trust me, there's
I mean,
hypocrisy
but
in
the
all
thing
of it
is,
depending on where you are.
yeah, I was about to say it goes across the board because your experience with your friend, I experienced that with a family member when it came to it, they converted to becoming Muslim. I was a child. And I was
Oh
told if
yeah.
you do not convert, like to the point where we couldn't even have the person around for too long because they just wouldn't stop. And I want
Mm,
to believe their intention was, I'm scared for you, so I think
Right.
I'm saving you.
Yes. I'm
But
saving
the
you.
delivery was just way too hardcore. And I was told if you don't convert, when you pass away, you will be like forever tortured. I don't even want to say what they said, but you will forever be in a state
yeah.
of torture.
Mhm.
And they told me that when I was like 11, and our relationship will never be the same, but it was severed for decades because I
Yeah.
was just like, why would you say that to a child? And what makes
Because
you
they
think that that's going to make me
believe
say,
it.
you know what? Sign me up. Like that's not,
Right.
I'm not my personality. I run the other way. Don't ever
Mhm.
But
try
that
to like,
tactic has worked. Right? That tactic
I
has
mean, no,
worked. The
they do
fear of
work.
God has
Well,
Has
worked.
it?
they do
Because
work,
look
but
how
it
many
starts
people
when
So
are.
you are,
Yeah,
it
how many
starts when
people
you're a
are.
child.
It
It
does.
starts
You have
when
to
you're a child
indoctrinate,
because
right?
the pits of hell is very motivating to get people to do the right thing. And
right.
some people need those guardrails. I mean, some people really need those
Yeah.
guardrails in
Mhm.
order to not do too much. but it also is used improperly, I believe. I think that,
Yes.
you
Fire
know,
and
when
brimstone.
you're a child, if someone says, you're going to go to hell if you don't pray, if you don't do
Can
this,
you
if you don't
imagine?
clean your room, you know what I mean? Like, it scares the bejesus out of you, no pun intended, and that follows you. Like, it follows you, right? People
Well,
know they
and
can
think
use it.
how
I'm
many
sorry. Like,
how many of us I mean, we're all saying, and I've heard from a lot of people, it's pushing people away from God, right? Whether or not their intention is to save you, right? You're pushing people away. You can't force anyone to any kind of relationship. Like, I couldn't, take some guy and I'm like, this guy's wonderful, he's wonderful, you have to be his best friend. That is going to be maybe a turn on for some people, a turn off for a lot of people. It doesn't
right.
make sense. And
Right.
I think one of the things you had said earlier is like a perfect example. There's so much where you hear in Christianity that we're meant to be free. God gave us freedom. He gave us freedom. But then when it's weaponized, what happens is it becomes about freedom for a certain group of people while oppressing other groups, right? And oppression is the opposite of freedom. So I want to segue a little bit into what we're seeing, how this is affecting women right now. So there are some very popular pastors with, hundreds of churches between them across the nation that are saying things like, on one hand, women are their men's equal spiritually, but then that they are secondary citizens to them that are just here to support men. And these men do not see women as their equal overall. Right. And some
Right.
women believe this because we're all affected, right, by implicit bias based on what we're taught. There's one of them, Jared Longshore, who's an executive pastor of a church, and he has, and we will put links to this information so people can see it for themselves, that said he would support the repeal of the 19th Amendment for women's right to vote. And there are many other things said, but I want to touch on one thing that just gives an example to the very core of how women are seen by some of these men. Senior Pastor Doug Wilson, who is a leader in a Christian nationalist movement, and he was praised by Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
I'm getting down to some nitty gritty here, but I just want to touch on, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically, he said.
Yes.
Now, his statement isn't wrong. Way to recognize reproduction.
Yeah.
But
He's ridiculous, this guy.
is reproduction enough, right? We are not just reproducing. It takes a lot of awareness and self-sacrifice to take that journey with purpose as a woman.
Yes.
So I just want to say to all the women hearing these kinds of messages out there, and there's a lot of talk about women being stay-at-home moms and being in their place. It's in line with what we're talking about. It's a little bit of a sidestep. As women, what did you have to do in order to, with purpose, during your pregnancy, bring a child into this world?
For us?
That's for
Yeah,
us?
yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
for us.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
all of
go
us,
ahead,
yeah.
Rachel.
I mean, mine was rocky, right? I've been pregnant 5 times and I have 1 living child. It took a lot. It took a lot of emotional labor to rebound from those miscarriages. It took a lot to I had also had a miscarriage after my child was born, so I had to parent and deal with that. My body went through a lot because of the miscarriages. So when I was actually pregnant, it wasn't just like I wasn't just a vehicle, right? I was paranoid the whole time. I was scared the whole time. I thought I was going to lose him. I heard that. I heard what he said in that interview. And that it's just like we're just vehicles. But my vehicle was a bit damaged from the losses, and that we don't get to grieve those in our country because it's just something that like we don't even those aren't even really like real losses here because there's no body, right? And so I had to suffer a lot in silence, and it's not easy. And even women that have quote unquote easy pregnancies, still something, and then it's not easy on the body. And then my birth plan did not go as planned, of course, right? We had to have like emergency C-section. It was a C-section. It was just a lot. It was a lot. So I disagree with that women are just vehicles, that you have to hold that baby is it takes physical stamina, it takes mental stamina, and some women don't have support during that time, and even if you do, it could still be challenging. So everyone's story is different, but to just kind of pass it off as that we're just like What do you call it? What do you say that women are just vehicle? The womb is basically a vehicle.
It doesn't take any
Right? It
talent to simply
doesn't take
reproduce
talent.
biologically.
Yeah, I wanted to slap him in the face when I heard that.
Yeah. Well, I think we all know that if men were having babies, this society would be a lot different. You know,
Yeah.
like the amount of cushiness that they would experience just so they
Right.
wouldn't have to feel any pain would be over the moon. And we know that we live in a country where women aren't respected in general. Like just even in our
Yes.
healthcare, when they do health studies, they just recently started considering women, which is absolutely insane.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
That is wild.
And yeah, like in my experience, obviously I've gone through some challenges. I've had pregnancy loss, and I have had to do a lot of things in order to have a healthy baby and to make sure mom and baby were okay, blood
Mm-hmm.
transfusions, iron transfusions, emergency C-sections, you know, bleeding out in my house to the point of passing out. I have seen the gamut of experiences, and I don't talk about it. Actually, I'm surprised I brought it up now, but the thing is, I want someone who's listening to this, who's seeing this, to understand that it is not all a pretty picture. And you know,
No.
thank God that social media doesn't just show people showing a beautiful perfect pregnancy, but also showing the struggle and the
Right.
mourning. And
Mhm.
you know, I'm thankful for those women who are willing, or people who carry children who are willing to share those stories, because so many people suffer alone because they feel shame, or they think that what's wrong with me, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it's much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. And I wish that even women, we didn't simplify the experience as
Mhm.
just like, oh, you know, you just had another baby, like, oh, it's no big deal. You know what I mean? Uh Unfortunately, unless you experience it, or you know someone who's experiencing it, or you have just some compassion, you don't understand the toil that it takes on you. Like it takes 10 months to grow a human being. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see how anybody can't look at a
Right.
woman and be like, you're growing lungs, brain,
Yeah.
muscles, bones, like this person's personality, fingers, toes, nails. Like, I mean, when you really think about, women are walking miracles. And if it was that easy, and if it was just a whatever, women would be constantly pumping out babies. And some women do,
Mm-hmm.
because that's their passion and that's their road in life. But there's a
Right.
lot more people, especially in this day and time, who don't even want to have children, because not only that, but we live in a country that's supposed to be leading the way, and yet there's so much maternal mortality. Top on that, if you are a woman of color, top on that, if you're a Black
Mhm.
woman, there is literally like the contradictions that people have with the Bible. It happens in this country. And people are
Right.
finally starting to understand, is this country as great as you guys claim it to be? Yes, I feel proud to be an American, in the sense that, you know, there's a lot of things that we get to do that in other countries that are just unheard of. However, when it comes to the basic rights and necessities, yeah, no, it's a lot of broken, it's a
Yeah.
lot of cracks, it's a lot of things that are broken. And so, even for me, like my biggest thing is the whole kind of male drivenness of religion, right? That part ways kind of like didn't feel right. You know, like if you say
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain amount of factions and like people who can get into heaven, and they're white males, and the rest of y'all, well, you know, have fun while you're here. You know, like it just it doesn't,
Right.
the math doesn't math for me. And I just I just hope, as people continue to like widen their lens, um, that people understand, like, God is love, Jesus is love, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else, you know, whatever you decide to take in with you should reflect that. And if it doesn't, you got to question the system. You got to shake the table a little bit, you know?
Right.
If a pastor can tell a teenager, a child, that they must have this child because it's a miracle, no matter how they got that way, no matter the trauma that caused them to be in that situation, that's a problem. That's a
Mhm.
problem. And
It's
if
a
people
huge
aren't
problem.
questioning that, there's a bigger issue going on.
But we're so concerned about we're so concerned about the first trimester and like, keeping that baby. But once these babies come out, once we have the
Mm,
babies, where is the pro-life?
right.
Where are we seeing the pro-life there? Right? All these
Mhm.
folks that are saying you can't do this, it goes against the Bible, it goes against Christianity. Okay, fine. So you force women to have these babies. Now what? Now what systems have been in place through the church? What is the church doing? What are churches, these mega churches with these guys driving around in Rolls Royces? What are you doing then now for the babies that are here? Where are
Right.
you where are you putting your focus to help those kids that have been born, forcibly born? What are we doing now, right? Where is the pro-life movement taking these children, and how is it making them better?
And
If women
and I'm
aren't,
sorry, G. I don't
no,
want to.
go ahead.
I I just wanted to say because you ding 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 something. Two things. One, we also live in a society where certain states are basically like, I want to monitor this pregnancy, and if you lose that pregnancy, you are now under suspicion for, you know, I don't want to say the word, but
Yes.
like you're like what,
Yeah.
or you're willing to like take that woman's life. So how pro
Right.
life are you that you're willing to
Yeah.
a woman, right? Like it just doesn't even make sense. I don't get it. I
Yeah.
just don't get how people's minds are made that way. Just
Yeah.
literally that makes sense. Another thing, I'm loving. I've seen a few people. It's a very small faction of people that are like, okay, you know what? You wanted this baby so bad. I didn't want to be a mom, so now I sign over my parental rights to you. And now you get to be the
Mhm.
single parent because the thing is, we have lived so
Yeah.
long where women don't want to have babies, and it is used as a form of control. And it's basically like a woman is just expected to step up no matter what, no matter the stress, and there's no room for her to make error, there's no room for her to be stressed out, there's no room. And everybody who has
Yes.
raised a child or spent a lot of time around a child, listen, they take you through the roller coasters of emotions, right? And so some women are like, I never wanted this baby. You wanted me to have this baby, and you said our relationship was gonna get better, and now you don't want me. You don't want me anymore, or I just simply don't want this child. I am signing my parental rights away. I'm dropping them
Mhm.
off at your house, and now it's for you. If more women, I mean, I understand why women don't do that, but if more women did
Sure.
that, yeah, that conversation would change. Because you don't want to
Mhm.
rear the child,
You
you
do
want to
not.
hold the baby and oh, look at my family and show it off. You don't want to do the hard work. You don't want to cry the tears and wipe the butts and the noses and be sick with them and like all those things, you know? So,
Yeah, I think if women, it actually does take quite a bit of skill to purposely raise a child. And women have to really listen to their instincts and their intuition because they want to raise a healthy baby and bring their baby into a healthy environment. So if women aren't having babies, it's because their conditions are not safe. For some just don't want to have children. And that's fine. But what I'm talking about are
Mhm.
women. Most women just do not feel safe. So what then is being done to create conditions where women want to have children? And I'm pro-life by choice.
Mhm.
I I'm gonna have my child. We have our two little girls, and our second one, I found out at 10 weeks was gonna have Down syndrome, and I already knew I was gonna have her. But I know enough women, and having been pregnant too, and knowing like for the first 3 months, I felt so sick. I felt like I had the flu for 3 months. And I remember with Jasmine the first time going, what have I done? What have I done to myself? You go through a lot and you give up everything and you know you're risking your life. So women, the death rate for women in our country varies, of course, because of racism and what that has done to people's access to health care and all kinds of other things. So if you break that down to, let's say you have a college campus with just over 12,000 people, and most people are familiar with a college campus somewhere nearby. What if you knew sending your daughter to that college campus, two of them would die each year? That's pregnancy. And we know this. Women know this. So we and then they question why
Mhm.
won't a woman just have her baby? She must, something must be wrong with her. She must hate them. But it is quite the opposite. The women I know who have chosen not to have their child, they didn't have the supports. They were scared. And you can hear people go, well, we drop off clothes at a pregnancy center. That's
Not
not
the
the
same.
same thing.
It's not the same.
Where's the
no.
universal health care?
It's
Where
not the
is the
same.
good education? Where's the time off for
There's
women
the
to be able to
childcare.
be with their children? Right. So, I mean, just there's a difference between freedom for all and freedom for some and oppression for others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for those, I mean, we don't have a lot of time left, so I just want to say, if you're looking to see where Christianity is weaponized or any other religion, look for contradictory statements. I'll just pop these in real quick. If they're telling you that democracy is a group decision where the republic is you deciding, that's a lie. Look it up. If they're saying they need things to go back to the way they are as we were as a nation, but that we need to vote to establish a more perfect union moving forward, that's a contradiction. And when they talk about looking back, look at what that means. Okay, that means that, when we started as a republic, only white men who owned land and businesses could vote. And some of them believe still only certain people should be able to vote. And they've even used terms like because they have skin in the game, as if because those of us who don't own expansive land or large businesses don't have skin in the game. We have our skin. We have our children's skin. People who are workers care. The workers are what makes this country what it is, not those who they make wealthy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When they say things like you should vote for somebody's policy and not personality in order to excuse atrocious behavior, but then on the other hand, tell pastors that they should be preaching to people about moral and social attitudes of politicians, there's a contradiction. When they talk about Lincoln was a progressive liberal of the time. His views on national banks' responsibilities and paying for roads and reparations to slaves, which was then broken later by Johnson. Oh, and the 13th Amendment to end slavery. The Constitution was altered. The amendments were alterations in order to make it a more perfect union. Loving people is not a bad thing. Being kind to people, giving to the poor, eating with those and having supper with those who are considered quote unquote degenerates. Those are all things Jesus said we should be doing. We should be giving and give more. And they're weaponizing this. And in any religion, if you're seeing these things, then it is a tactic to say one thing on one hand to make you agree with them, because then you're less likely to disagree with them on the other thing they say, which is hateful. You want to wrap this up for us,
I
Robin?
mean, that was literally
Yeah.
pretty much facts over feelings. I mean, I really don't know if I
Nice.
can wrap it up, but I'll do my best.
That was great.
My goodness, snaps. This is the thing. We live in a world where we want all the freedom, but yet we think it's appropriate to control. And I think we all can agree that if you don't want someone to choose what you eat, where you go, how you move, who you love, that we have a broken system and something needs to change. Also, listen, the book of the Bible, although a nice guide, right? Let's not act like we have to take it verbatim. There's literally contradictions all over the place. And if you use it for evil, but yet can't see how it should be used for good, there's a very, very big problem. Christianity is about love. Jesus was about love. And if love begets love, then how are we getting into this society where there's so much hate? I want you to sit with that. I want you to think about people, not just you, but people who are in your community, people who you love, people who you see at church on Sunday, or you see at school pickup, or you see at the grocery store in the regular, and think about the reflection of what you see. And I'm going to take it back to Michael. Okay. It all starts by looking at the man in the mirror and asking him to change his or her ways. Okay. His, her, or they ways. And we all have to start here. God lives in you. You are a reflection. If you believe that, you are a reflection. And so therefore, you got to fix what you're seeing in the mirror. And I'm not just talking about your skin. Okay. But
Amen.
outside of that, we love you. We're here to support you. If you made it this far, we so very much appreciate you. If you think there's somebody in your life who could benefit from our podcast, or someone who just needs to be set straight, share it with them. You know what I mean? Share the love. We're trying to grow our community. And also we're going to have some links down here, some support where you can look up and dig in a little bit deeper and tell us, how do you feel? How did you receive religion as a child? And was it presented with fear? Was it presented with love? And how do you think we can use our society in a way where people actually can be free? The land of the free? Question mark? That's what we need to start reassessing. Ladies, anything else?
That was great.
That's good. None for me.
All right. Until next time, guys. Bye. And we'll
Bye.
see you next time.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Frame Initiative podcast. You can email us at info@beyondtheframeinitiative.com and receive a free facts over feeling sheet and more helpful links at our website. Thank you so much for supporting our podcast, and we'll see you soon. All voices, images, and visual content in this podcast are the original work of the hosts. Unauthorized use, including voice cloning, synthetic media generation, and deepfakes, is strictly prohibited and violates our intellectual property rights and right of publicity.